and pushing Hwaisin back with them. He needed some Scourges in there because that would have been a good opportunity to take those science vessels down. Another place where I feel Zero could have done a little bit better is to have used Plague against those science vessels. The Plague would be so effective against those science vessels, but he has underused his Defilers slightly, used them effectively to swarm earlier on, but since then he hasn't even needed to use the Defilers, and Zero just trying to take that siege tank down. The last crackling almost takes the siege tank down, but that's taken down by the Marines. Another Zergling's go and finish off the siege tank. I guess he moved his Medic and Marines away because he anticipated some infested Marines heading his way, but infested Terrans heading his way. Lurkers once again down, and Hwaisin just not able to break free, not able to break out. Zero keeping the pressure on, coming in with using the Zerglings as a shield to get the infested Marine in, but the infested Marine gets picked off before he can really kill him off. But he managed to take out a couple of the medics, a couple of precious medics, but Hwaisin has more than enough of those to spare. He's managed to keep most of his medics alive, even though he's lost quite a lot of Marines. But now the Defiler finally coming back in, despite the irradiates, and closing in within range of Hwaisin's natural expo, and really he cannot afford to lose that, and the swarm right over that expo. But the critical thing is that Hwaisin does have a lot of science vessels that Zero has not been able to take down, and he's now finally building a large number of Scourges, but I really feel he's been negligent in letting Hwaisin get such a large science vessel fleet up and running, just focusing on the scanner right now with the Lurkers. He's now got more units coming in. Unfortunately for Hwaisin, he just doesn't have the economy to compete in terms of ground units with his opponent, and he's just being swarmed by the Zerg player, just being overwhelmed, slowly but surely conceding territory, and now his expansion. Now the Queen coming in as well to try and maybe catch those, perhaps try and convert the command center, try and infest the command center, but that command center did seem like it had good health. Actually, it hasn't been infested because obviously he doesn't have too much anti-air. He could use the Scourges to take it down, but I think the Scourges would be much more, those precious Scourges would be much better, and the Scourges are coming in. He is indeed going to use the Scourges, and he is going to take that command center, and the command center now red and now infested, and Hwaisin, awful feeling for him. But you've got to give credit to Zero. He's really shown some great StarCraft, and again, he is a player who hasn't just come out of nowhere. He did make it quite far in the OSL last season, and he's showing why. He definitely's got some skills. He's definitely got some talent, but I still feel there's a little bit of roughness there, primarily in the use of his Defilers. I haven't seen a single plague from him yet. And allowing Hwaisin to build up such a large science vessel fleet, not using Scourges either. I think a Defiler with a couple of Mutalisks could do massive damage to that science vessel fleet, and really that's the only thing standing between Hwaisin and defeat in this matchup. Now coming in with a large fleet of Scourges, obviously he's going to need to occupy those Medic and Marines first before he comes and picks up those science vessels. Manages to pick a couple of the science vessels down, but he really needs a Plague, and finally a Plague on those science vessels, catching all of them in the process this time. Hwaisin has got that expansion up at the 6 o'clock base, but really his economy just cannot compete with his opponents. Now a massive group of infested Terran coming in. Actually Hwaisin with some good defense, taking out all the infested Terrans, with Plague all over those Medic and Marines as well. Some Lurkers popping out for Zero, but he's not been able to get them out in time, and more infested Terrans popping out, and Zero is just pumping those infested Terrans out. Meanwhile, science vessel floating for scouting information. That infested Terran is going to get picked off again before it can close in within range of those Medic and Marines. And Hwaisin is now putting a couple of Spider Mines down as well. Hwaisin is still fighting desperately. You feel that Zero should really close this game out, and the reason he hasn't been able to is that science vessel fleet. And I'm just wondering if there's a chance that Hwaisin might be able to come out and get a surprise win in this game here, if he can somehow just break down that front door, because Zero doesn't have a lot of defenses there, but those science vessels are vulnerable. They have another infested Terran running into those fire bats, those science vessels have been plagued, but there are a lot of them, and Zero hasn't been able to kill them off, and I really felt he should have closed this game out. And is there a chance that Hwaisin could come out of somewhere and take this game? Hwaisin now just sending the science vessels out very cleverly, one by one, realizing that they're on low health and he doesn't want to risk them. But Zero coming in with swarms and plague against those plague units, and an infested Terran takes out a large group, and those infested Terrans have really been game killers for Hwaisin. I think but for those infested Terrans, Hwaisin might have been able to take this game, despite the fact that Zero has had such a strong economy and controlled a large part of the map early on. I think Hwaisin, well, I won't say he would have been able to take the game, but I think he would have really been able to hurt Zero, because he has done well in building up that science vessel fleet, but unfortunately because of those infested Terrans, they're just devastating against that Medic and Marine group, and I guess that's something that Zerg players will have to think about on this map, just how devastating those infested Terrans can be against the Medic and Marines. I think it adds an interesting game mechanic. I won't go so far as to say ultra us out as well, obviously, for Zero now. 3 Defilers. I won't go so far as to say that it's an imbalanced map because of the potential of that neutral command center for infested Terrans, but I think it's safe to say that it's definitely going to make Terran players think about their strategy versus Zerg on this map and how they go about it and what they think about it. And I feel that Hwaisin, what little hope he had there, had resurrected there, is probably gone now, because once again Zero's locked him in the bottom left-hand corner of the map and secured map control, and he's got Ultralisk out as well, and Hwaisin, excuse me, once again Zero closing in on that. Almost 4 AM here, guys. Zero closing in on Hwaisin's natural expo, and Hwaisin, even despite the irradiates and the massive science vessel fleet, and now finally the Mutalisk coming out to take out those science vessels. A couple of science vessels go down to single Mutalisk shots. Meta Marine Group chasing the Ultralisks away, but Zero's really just got expansions at so many bases that he is just in such a strong position, and it's a wonder that this game has lasted 26 minutes already, considering how far ahead Zero has been. Credit to Hwaisin and his defense that Zero has been able to close the game out, and I think again it's primarily due to that science vessel fleet that Zero has allowed Hwaisin to build out. He just didn't produce enough Scourges. There was a period of time and Zero now coming in with a large group of Medican Marines and Lurkers and infested Terrans as well chasing up, and it's just going to be horrible for Hwaisin. And that Terran does get taken down before he gets right in amongst the middle of those Marines. One does manage to hit, and those Ultralisks will finish off the remainder of Hwaisin's forces. Now those Mutalisks will have free reign to come in and polish off those remaining science vessels, and that's going to be it. That's going to be GG, folks. All of Hwaisin's science vessels get taken down. He just didn't have the ground forces to back it up, and those infested Marines just, unfortunately, were too much for Hwaisin to handle. Especially, I mean, they would have been too much for any build, but just as he was getting his push going, which he really needed to, well, first of all, his push was very late, because Zero did a great job of containing him with Lurkers and Lings, but even after that, and Mutalisks as well, and even after that, when he finally managed to break out, the infested Terrans came into play, and that one that hit 2 siege tanks simultaneously and took them out. That was a blow from which Hwaisin just didn't recover. But I think Terran players are going to have to think a lot. And infested Terrans now attacking command centers. Oh my god. GG, guys. Poor Hwaisin. I really feel bad for the Red Sniper. He didn't deserve that sort of humiliation. But all credit to Zero. He played a good game of StarCraft and used the map to full advantage. And again, I'm not going to comment on balance issues yet. I think it's too early for that. But good game, guys. This is Klazart. Thanks for listening.
벙커에 막혀다 거기다 그냥 밀봉다고 끝나는 줄 알았거든요. 풀어내면서 테란전 좋아요, 김명환. 네, 상대적으로 진영 선수. 네, 상대 김명훈 선수의 정찰군, 그 효과 때문에 일단 벙커를 실패하면서 경기를 끝까지 유지를 했습니다만 격차가 많이 났습니다. 구재환 선수가 결국은 반등할 계기가 필요한데 그게 바로 오늘 진영 선수의 경기가 아닌가 생각이 듭니다. 김명환, 이제 남은 김창희, 김태경 선수까지. 김창희, 김태경 선수의 경기까지만 잘 풀어낸다면 첫 16강, 첫 8강, 첫 4강까지 나올 것 같습니다. 다 지정도 첫 작전에 실패, 벙커 라인의 돌파, 이게 가장 아쉬웠습니다. 이렇게 해서 김명훈 선수 승리를 거둔 가운데 오늘의 마지막 경기 조일장과 신상문의 경기로 돌아오죠.